Hey everyone, I've got a special treat today for Beyond the Table. I have Matt and Nick. I mean, I know you as Ginger Fraser, but
Yeah.
I don't know that we should call you that on the show. Of Black Lodge Games, thank you both for joining me today.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
I got to meet you guys at North Texas RPG Con, and I feel like we hit it off, and here we are. I purchased the Shucked Oyster, which has already made it into my Palladium Fantasy game.
Nice.
What a Chad move.
Yeah.
I gotta say,
more people need to do.
You had me at the sidebar on handling sex and role-playing games.
That's the section that has won a lot of people over.
Yeah, and turned away the right people. The right people.
Yeah, I was just watching. Whose video was I watching? I forget the guy's name, but he was talking about safety tools and how the safety tools were brought into the industry by Ron Edwards in Sorcerer, who was basically like, hey, sex and Sorcerer is a supplement for brutalizing your players emotionally, but here's the tools that we need to have. And I'm like, well, you just keep that door closed.
Yeah.
I don't need any
That's
of this
what we're doing here. Yeah, man.
Exactly.
I hear you. I know what role-playing games are about. Yeah.
So why did you guys start Black Lodge Games? Let's start there. I mean, you guys have a great YouTube channel.
Thank you.
I found you actually through your Vampire the Masquerade video.
Nice.
Yeah, we're going to be getting back to that. I think we're going to be talking about Vampire again on our Thursday live stream, which we do every week.
Nice.
Yeah. We met through playing role-playing games online when neither of us really had like in-person groups, and there was a different era of YouTube. There was this thing called the YouTube RPG Brigade that was born out of this Facebook group that had all of these creators in it. And they ran a convention called Brigade Con, and I ran a game for that. And Nick signed up, thank God, because you never know who's going to join your con game.
Yep.
We hit it off from there and kind of bonded over this game called Within the Ring of Fire.
Yeah,
that's by our friend Andrew Wood, and just basically stayed friends over the years. And then a couple of years ago, we were just talking on the phone, like, pretty much once a week for hours, talking about role-playing games and YouTube and the state of like the advice on YouTube for how to run a role-playing game and how bad it was. And we finally decided, someone has to do something, and it can only be us.
This has to stop.
Yeah.
Yes. That's the start of all good YouTube channels.
Yeah.
Right. Nobody gets in there because they're like, maybe I have. No, you have to believe. That's one of the things I love about, I think, is it the Living Campaign book? Because he's like, listen, I'm never going to tell you in this book, well, however you're doing it is fine. I'm like, I'm writing this book because I believe this is the right way to do it.
This is the right way to do it. Exactly.
Yes. Change my mind book. Like, that's
you have to have a point of view.
Yeah. And this is sort of the nature of our ethos, our sort of channel motto: no apologies, no compromises. We're big on telling people whatever you're doing, whatever your interest is, have a perspective, have a vision, and do not capitulate. Don't waffle. If you're spending time, money, effort, interest, you're enthusiastic about something and you have an opinion. So put that over.
Yeah. Don't be afraid. Like, if you have an opinion, some people are not going to agree with you, and that's fine. And you don't have to fear these people, basically.
Right. We used to understand that the definition of the word tolerance was, I don't agree with you, and yet we can still be friends. Like we can exist. I can recognize your humanity, and we can move on. And somehow that has shifted to, if you don't agree with me, you are now intolerant. And I'm like, no, but people have opinions on things, and we're never going to agree on everything. I come from a theological background, so I'm like, I look at like denominations kind of like that. It's like, we've disagreed on this one thing, time to split. And I'm like,
it has been a disaster for the human race.
It has been. We are a very fractious species. We're actually looking for any reason to be like, well, time to split.
Yeah. And a big reason why this sort of perverted understanding of that idea is just the prevalence of this misunderstanding of the lie of niceness, right?
Yeah.
And when everyone is doing their best and acting as their first manner of course to be nice, which is to be inoffensive.
Yeah.
Nobody says anything. Nobody thinks anything. Nobody is willing to show passion or emotion really, except for a sort of pre-digested received wisdom in the most sort of low resolution way. And so that what would you say? That state of being or that perspective is easy prey for bad faith actors.
Yeah.
Yes.
And nice and good are different things.
Right.
They are. And I was just reading Lewis in like 1940 was talking about that and saying, listen, we're reducing all virtues to kindness.
Yeah.
And all virtues feed into each other. And if you only have one virtue, you actually have no virtues.
None. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got to ask, because when it comes to World of Darkness, my love from World of Darkness is Mage the Ascension.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Any hot takes on Mage the Ascension? I know you talk a lot about Vampire.
Yeah.
And not the hot garbage that was Mage the Awakening.
Yeah.
Because that
I will
watering something down. I have strong feelings about the Awakening.
That I don't give a shit about Mage.
All right, perfect.
I like Vampire. I think it was the best of the World of Darkness games. The Chronicles of Darkness games, there's some other lines like Promethean is fantastic.
Promethean is great.
But mostly I think that the Supernaturals don't play well together. I think each game needs to be its own silo.
Yeah.
And I just haven't personally found Mage to be all that interesting. I haven't dove into it very much. I dove into the Chronicles of Darkness one, the Ascension, was it the Awakening? But it never hooked me.
Yeah.
So my feeling about Mage, I've never played Mage. I've never gotten a chance to run it. I definitely have thoughts about it because by rights, my interests, if I'm playing a fantasy game, D&D, back reading fantasy novels as a kid, the main thing which always interests me is magic and sorcery and all of these different things. I should and I want to like Mage the Ascension. Let's set aside the size of at least the 20th anniversary book. That's a hurdle of a different a different species. What always frustrated me and kept me from really getting into it is I fundamentally disagree with the way the major metaphysical concept is put forward. The main conflict are the traditions versus the technocracy, right? Broadly, I'm sure there's stuff I don't know about, but that seems to be the main overarching sort of thing. And it's such a 90s perspective, especially an early 90s perspective. Yeah. And you see this also with the main conflict of werewolf. It's a Werewolf the Apocalypse.
Yeah.
I think it's incorrect. And more than it being incorrect, it's not really interesting to me to have sorcerers, wizards, people who are channeling their belief and their faith, for lack of a better term, through these different paradigms, and a kind of anti philosophy, I guess, a materialist philosophy. Mm-hmm. I understand. I understand how there is relevance to that sort of conflict in the modern day, even back in the 90s. But
if there's actual magic, how is there materialism?
There's actual magic, but it's like the world is 100% subjective, and yet it seems that's not the case as well. there's something that's wrong. There's something from like a genre perspective, just aesthetically, of having sci-fi or like agents from the Matrix up against wizards. It would have been way more interesting to me if we jettisoned the technocracy completely and focus on what we all want to be doing, which is playing a bunch of wizards.
Yeah, and you want you versus consensual reality. You don't need this idea of the technocratic union. I think what they eventually, at least in the latest edition or the 20th anniversary, they come to the conclusion that the technocracy's pushing of this materialism has actually hurt them, because now humanity is like, yeah, actually, this is pretty nice. I don't even care about your super science anymore, because and so like now technocracy stuff is failing in the face of this nihilistic materialism. And I'm like, good, suck it. But
the thing that also bothers me, and again, this is a problem of it being all within one world of darkness, because you should play these things as if the other supernaturals are not a part of it, in my opinion. But the way the product line was made is it's like, this is somehow a real thing. All of the mythology surrounding Mage is real, while simultaneously Gaia is real and the worm is real. Yep. But also, Jesus Christ and Yahweh are real, and Cain, was cursed by God, the Creator, and it's like, you can't have
these are mutually exclusive.
None of these things can exist in side by side.
That was my biggest problem with the new World of Darkness. I think mechanically it solved a lot of things, but in order to make everything play together, you had to knock off everything that made each individual silo unique. And you ended up with this just sort of, we're trying to make everyone happy. And in that case, you're really making no one happy. Like, I have friends who like really loved New World of Darkness.
Yeah.
And I don't take their opinions on anything anymore. No.
Nice.
But all right, so let's talk about.
I will say, in defense of the New World of Darkness, I also agree that you shouldn't have werewolves or vampires in it because they're stupid. But I like that they got rid of the meta plot and the mythology, because I liked the dark mysteriousness of things and the fog of the ages.
That was great, and I actually think Changeling the Lost is times better than Changeling the Dreaming.
Yes,
it is.
I want to play some person who was kidnapped by the Fae, lit on fire, and kept as a torch for 100 years.
Right.
Yeah.
But there is almost, now that I'm thinking of it, there is a problem with the New World of Darkness, at least when they switched to the second edition in the Chronicles line, is the incorporation of the God Machine, which is a kind of interesting concept, and it works great for Demon.
Right?
Yeah. But that's another thing where it's like, I don't want the God Machine ever existing in my vampire game,
because
that ruins it.
It's a backdoor, like they're putting the sort of objective creator myth or whatever, the ultimate truth is some kind of techno Lovecraftian
Gnostic
illusion thing, Gnostic kind of thing, which is fine. You can. That's an interesting idea.
That's an interesting idea, but it's a separate game.
It's separate.
Yeah, it's a separate concept. You can't
have the God, what is the God Machine's opinion on changelings? And and the very bizarre way, Promethean, in my opinion, is by far the crowning achievement of the Chronicles lines. So much so that it's amazing that the creators were able to come up with it, because I don't think they know what it is to be human. But it's weird how, especially in the second edition, they tried, as far as I know, more heavily than any other line other than Demon, to bring in the God Machine to Promethean specifically. It's very bizarre.
Really?
Yeah, there's like Promethean, you're playing Frankenstein's. It's a Hulk / Pinocchio story, and there's a sort of an aesthetic, a lot of terminology from Western alchemy, and that's sort of the milieu. And there are these sort of angelic beings that are maybe representative of the divine fire, who have a mysterious relationship to the angels of Demon and the God Machine. Maybe they're enemies. Maybe they're actually different types of servants of the God Machine. It's not very clear.
Okay, I'm gonna have to check that one out. Like,
Yeah.
I followed the new. I don't have anything from Chronicles. I followed the new World of Darkness for a little bit, and then Mage came out and was so antithetical to everything I loved about Awakening or Ascension that I was just like, I'm done. Like, you clearly didn't understand it, or you wanted it to be more like D&D, I guess.
I will say that the first edition of New World of Darkness had problems. Like Vampire the Requiem had big problems, and a big part of that was that it was kind of apologizing for not being Vampire the Masquerade anymore. And I think the other games were kind of like that. They didn't really have their own identity. And about halfway through the lifespan of that edition, it really did start to find its own legs. And it was around the time the clan books came out, the game got really good. And then the second edition was considerably better, like much better, and really is kind of has its own identity that is separate from, and I'm sure that it's the same for Forsaken and
I would imagine so, but I don't know.
Or the Awakening.
Yeah, I feel like Forsaken was another one that at least the overarching idea was a less tied to the early 90s.
Yeah.
Like the idea that werewolves are kind of this liminal creature that guards the marshlands between, reality and the spiritual realm.
The Umbra.
I like that better than the eco-terrorism of,
you
said, that's rooted very deeply in like early 90s culture.
Yeah, it's Captain Planet with blood and guts.
Yeah, exactly. Which I would watch that show.
Yeah. There is that Don Cheadle. I think it was probably College Humor or something to that. That was very funny.
Oh yeah, the Captain Planet.
That is,
I apologize.
All right, let's talk about the Shucked
coming
Oyster.
off being ill.
I did a review of this. I wasn't going to get it at first because it's Shadow
Many
Dark.
such cases. Yeah,
I'm not a. I mean, I appreciate Shadow Dark. It's gorgeous. Great game, just not in the genres that I normally am looking for. If I'm going to play something more old school, I'm going Hyperborea, I'm going, adventure and print. And that's when I saw the Appendax. And I'm really glad that you guys put that in there because that sidebar is what. So what was the impetus for putting this book together?
Oh man, we
did a video. We had an idea for a video.
We had a very boring idea for a
very
video.
boring, bad idea for a video that we learned almost immediately that we just did not want to do that, where we were going to do a comparison between Shadow Dark and Old School Essentials. And neither of us wanted to
actually make that
video. And we were thinking,
because who gives a fuck?
Who cares? And we don't want to be reading dishwasher instructions to just make dry points. So we were thinking, all right, how do we hook people into this video? What's the vibe? How are we actually going to get people interested? And we just started riffing and telling a story about a character.
Yeah, it's like, what's the hook of the video? And it's like, okay, it's like the guy's having a dream, and it's, he's an Old School Essentials character. He's hitting 9th level, so now he gets a stronghold and followers and all this stuff. But he's actually not an OSE character. He's a Shadow Dark character. He wakes up and he's in a pool of his own vomit because he's been out carousing. It's like he blows all his money that he gets from the dungeon on carousing so he can level up and he can go back. And that was so much more funny and interesting to us that just became the video, was the story of this degenerate lunatic on the run from his bookie.
And legitimately what was most interesting to us about Shadow Dark, which is the carousing mechanic, because we realized, this is actually what the mechanical implications are. You are an absolute adrenaline junkie degenerate who's going back, risking life and limb, going back, blowing all your money, getting blackout drunk, having to run away from your bookie and from the debt collectors, back into the dungeon, skip town, go to a different one. and that was so interesting and so funny. And after the video, we had made the video, we kept thinking about this place and this character. We mentioned
the character in the video. When he escapes the bookie, he ties his sheets as a rope and gets out the window. But where's he going to go? Of course, he's going to the brothel. And we're like, what's this thing called? And then Nick came up with it's called the Shucked Oyster. Yeah. And it gets obliterated in like a spell mishap in the story. And then after the video was over, like you said, like we just couldn't get it out of our heads. Like the idea just was there. It was too funny. And we decided, we're like, you know what? We're just going to make this this will be our first product. It'll be a PDF. It's going to be like 20 pages. It's just a little location that you can drop into your game. And then when we started writing it, it just continued snowballing and becoming bigger and bigger and bigger until we explored as much of the idea as we could within that module.
So I love it. Like I said, I dropped it into my Palladium fantasy game. So first of all, in my review, I said it's the finest fantasy brothel that I've ever read about.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've read about too many fantasy brothels, but you weave in, I don't want to do too many spoilers, but you weave in, I mean, the cult of Malchimpus, you weave in, which has ties back to, the monkey's paw myth, which when paired with the brothel, I was like seeing this theme of sort of like, passion denied or desire thwarted kind of a thing, right? Because even, on sort of a symbolic level, even a brothel is sort of like a thwarted desire. You're giving into a passion now, but like, especially in like a medieval setting, you're not getting any of the actual benefits that you would from, being in a family in the medieval times, where you're like, I'm getting new household members. I'm, continuing my name. This this is going to continue. Yeah. That's not really, that's where the bastards come from. Was that intentional, or was that just sort of like bubbling in the subconscious that kind of, as you were like pulling all of these different elements in and kept writing, that it just sort of bubbled into the surface?
I would say it was kind of both. There's some of it that I think was bubbling beneath the surface, but we were also thinking like, this is not a good place to work. Like it's a place that just takes from you. It's not just to work there, but to be a patron there. It's like, this is not a fun. It is a fun place, but it's a place of like spiritual evil and it's and immiseration and suffering. And we didn't want to, much to the chagrin of some people, apparently, we didn't want to make a map of this brothel so you can go and hang out with prostitutes the whole time and role play out your medieval degeneracy fantasies. That was not the point. The point was that it's like, no, there's something awful happening here, and it has this very funny way of drawing you into it, and it will make you laugh like you can't believe, but the deeper that you go, the less funny it is. And well, that's not true. It is still very funny, but
it remains funny.
It remains funny, but there's a very serious core underneath all of it.
I would say this. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, you go ahead.
So totally agree. I would say all of those things we discovered, not after the fact, like after it was done, but as we were writing it, because what we realized very early on, accidentally, is this sort of carousing dynamic and this location, a brothel where you can blow all your money and find rumors and get into jams and all of the wild things that can happen. This really synchronized with how we had already been thinking about and talking about what role-playing is and what the hobby is as a medium. There are certain things that the medium does well, and and some things that it does not do well. And we didn't want to write a module, quote unquote, with like a linear story and we all know what that sort of looks like, and organizing this location with all of the different thematics and plots and characters around this sort of soap opera dynamic. Of course, our channel name is Black Lodge Games, which is obviously a Twin Peaks reference.
Oh yeah, no, 100%.
And we said very early on, the brothel is our Laura Palmer.
Yeah.
And just how a lot of different things are happening in Twin Peaks, and this is how, in many cases, how like the real world works. You're not going through life, plotting out your sort of thing. And so by having all this rogues gallery of weirdos, you really get to experience in an organic way what is going on and the implications of those things. And there's a less heavy-handed, a less artificial, a more real way in which these thematics, like the suffering and the tragedy and all of these things which are there, are more naturally manifest than if we said, here's the actual story.
Yeah. In this location, there is a dungeon which is stocked with monsters. Yeah. And you can resolve it. If that's all that it was, it would not have been interesting.
Right.
But it becomes interesting and it feels more real, and you maintain your agency. Yeah. Which are all of these things which the medium is sort of is good at. So we really wanted to move with the current of what the medium does. Yeah. If that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. And I think you did a great job of, as you said, creating this cast of weirdos. Like already my players are like, wait a second, why is she wearing a veil? Wait a second, what's going on here? They're intrigued by the humanity, if you will, of the characters.
Yes.
Right.
But it's the misery that's going to, like, as they scratch at this place, the misery is what goes, well, hey, if we are actually supposed to be heroes here, shouldn't we find a way of helping? But I also love that you did not give a map, because as soon as you give a map, GMs and players suddenly go, well, this is what's important. Because I have to know what the space is, so therefore it's super important. By glossing over that, you basically allowed the fun to happen without providing space for, as you said, your medieval fantasy degeneracy.
Right. That or like exploring the brothel as a dungeon crawl. It's like, that's not what the brothel is about.
There's no of course you can get into fights anywhere, but that's the brothel itself is not a dungeon. So we don't want to incentivize people to think about it that way. Yeah. Also, the place burns down all the time.
Yeah. Right.
It's going to look different.
I know. It's like, what's on the first floor? Well, there's a big room. Can you imagine a room?
Can you imagine anything?
So we gave you maps for the dungeons, which do need maps. Those are things that do need maps. But that was a decision we made at the end. It was like kind of the last thing we were thinking, like, because we had planned on mapping it. And by the time that everything else was done, we were like, this will just be bloat. Basically, like it's just going to add to the page count for no reason.
If anything, it undermines the point.
It undermines the point. Yeah, it's like because
completely would.
Go like the brothel, you don't need to spend much time in the brothel. The point is all of the people that are connected through it.
Yes.
And that's why it's kind of like our Laura Palmer thing, is that Laura Palmer is the nexus that binds all of these disparate, bizarre characters and seemingly unrelated storylines together. And it's those storylines that are the important thing,
Yeah.
Now, all right. So you guys mentioned, this is a place of spiritual evil. And I love to wax philosophical on this channel and talk about, the nature of evil and philosophy and beauty in gaming, because I think gaming is, Stafford said it's the thing that counteracts materialism and like feeds our souls on like a mythological level.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You're coming out with your next book that's coming out soon, right? Cults of Zahak for Mithras. I am so excited about this book because just in the little bit that I've read and us talking about it, it's like, hey, evil needs to be evil. Otherwise, why are we?
Yes.
Yeah.
But not in a glorification, not in a,
No.
hey, let's go play. So
Yeah.
for people who may not have heard, what's the high level view of Cults of Zahak? What was the impetus behind putting that one together? And when does it come out? Like, how soon are we?
So
Comes out hopefully soon.
very soon. So
We're waiting on drive
it
through.
is now 21 days since we ordered our
It
second
is very
proof copy.
infuriating.
Oh man,
It's tough. We had some
Yeah.
errors in our first proof copy, so and we brought those to North Texas so we could show people.
Mhm.
But the we're waiting for the physical copy to come in so that we can then get the codes out to our backers from the Kickstarter. And we're going to put the PDF up for sale very soon.
Awesome.
But the physical book, we're going to give them a couple of weeks to order them so they can get them in advance of other people. But it's coming very, very soon. But the impetus for that was it kind of grew out of a project that Nick had been thinking up. It was actually the project that we were thinking up before the Shucked Oyster took over our mind.
So we initially had an idea for a book about golems, sort of a bestiary or like a source book that really takes the idea of that monster type seriously, because I've always found golems interesting, and it's been irritating that they're just considered and put over as fantasy robots, which is completely incorrect. But it evolved and it sort of wove in with an idea for a setting I've been thinking up for a number of different years, and also I've been talking to you for a long time about Mithras, and eventually we got a chance. I forget if it was while we were. It must have been while we were still writing.
Yeah, it was
we're finishing up
the
Shucked Oyster. I ran a game, a Mithras game for Matt and another friend of ours.
A huge fan of Mithras.
It's so good.
I'm a huge fan of Mithras. It's
an
amazing game.
Yeah, it's the best. It's awesome.
It's my favorite fantasy game, I think.
Awesome.
Yeah, same. Anyway, so we started talking about that, and the idea, just like the Shucked Oyster, was going to be a 20-page book.
Yeah.
It evolved from a small presentation on a type of fantasy monster into this larger idea, using a lot of literally using the Mithras rules and the trappings and the presentation of it, different cults by culture type, et cetera, but a vehicle to show and express what real evil is, because if you're making golems, or as we in our book, it's in they are the idols of Zahak, this dark sort of Satan figure, and evil is objectively real. It has a form and it has an essence, and it's not just simply someone who is stronger than you, someone who has tentacles, or who has more special abilities than a player character of a certain. That's all secondary and tertiary. Yeah. What does it mean for a lunatic, a deranged and vile person who is going to twist the essence of life and of the sacred, with full knowledge of what that entails, in order to create a living blasphemy? What does that person look like? Why do they do that? What effects does that have on the world? How does that utterly subvert or invert or destroy a healthy or a healthy culture and society? And that's what that book became. So we have a number of different sample cults in Adventure, which is sort of a vertical slice, a glimpse into
the larger
setting, which we will do later.
That's fantastic.
The way we were kind of talking about it and thinking about this was that, again, this isn't, it came from this idea of like, let's talk about this monster. But then once we started talking about what the monster is, it's like, now we have to talk about what evil is. And through we've been playing through and experimenting with this setting, it became clear that the ideas really were kind of like meant for each other. And the idea of tackling evil in this way and actually showing someone where it's like, this is not a misunderstood villain. These people, it's evil. It is conscious evil. People who have chosen to walk the dark path, basically, and what that actually means. And so it became this thing where we were kind of conceptualizing, okay, what is the monster then? And it's a little bit like when the Israelites are in the desert and they make the golden calf. You know, it's like, what if that thing started walking around and talking though? Right. Like that, it's like, it's not just an idol. It's like, no, they have done this, created this complete mockery, but it's actually walking around, you know, like that was the kind of the like, ooh, that's the idea. And so the book itself is presented over the course of several parts. The first part is basically gives you a very, very small, it's only a couple of pages overview of kind of like the cosmology of this world that we're presenting, but also saying that, you know, this Zahak figure, this Satan-like figure, if you're running like a historical game, you can just call him Satan and he'll fit in. Like it's that sort of a figure who has made the choice. This is what he sort of represents. If you want to translate it, if you want to do this in Glorantha, even this, you know, this can be easy to map it to a different setting if you want. Right. But then going in through like, okay, what does it mean? What is diabolism? Like, what does it mean to be a cultist of Zahak? So they have the diabolic magic system, which is really great. It's really good and really, really creepy. It has ritual, like super powerful ritual magic that can like affect domains and things like that as well. And I think we did a good job mechanically of like represent. This is something that RuneQuest and Mithras in particular, they really simulate mechanically well how this is. So the diabolism points are basically dead magic points, or dead. Your soul continues to blacken and die. The more you commit yourself to this dark path, and you can't take it back. There's no take backsies here. This is for you to get the magic and be considered a diabolist in that way. Because there is an archetype of like a tragic villain. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. No, that's all true, but this. Where if you have a character, or hopefully not a player character, but you're well past you're well past that point. You have consciously made the choice. You've given into despair is really what it is, and it's the type of thing where I don't know if you've seen The Witch by Robert Eggers. I love Eggers. So when Black Phillip is talking to her at the end, that signs the book. She puts her name in the black book. That's what you're doing basically. Is Zahak whispers to you and you hear his words and you agree and you sell your soul away. And so depending on and it's tied to your passion. So it's basically when your passion kind of inverts from like a love to a hate or something along those lines. Oh, nice. That passion rating becomes the baseline of your diabolism skill. When you betray yourself. When you betray yourself or your people. And so when that happens, depending on the strength of that passion, you might actually start out with like very high cult status or very low cult status. But as your skill increases, as you advance through the cult, you carve away a part of your magic points. Your power score determines how many magic points you have in Mithras and RuneQuest and all these different things. If you're, the entry level to being an actual cultist, you then lose 25% of your magic points permanently. They become diabolism points. They're this other thing. And so you're basically, you're really sacrificing your soul and as you advance, you take off the next 25%, the next 25 until 100% of your magic points are gone. You can never use any sort of divine magic or any other magic except for diabolism at that point. And when you do this, you're permanently cut off from entering the afterlife. You're a dead end. When you die, you basically go to oblivion. It's lights out permanently. So these people have an incentive to keep themselves alive for a long time, and they have magical means of doing that. But it's in service of this idea of evil, which is I want you to suffer as I suffer.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like, oh, I am misunderstood. It's deliberately, no, I want to make everyone hateful and miserable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
which at its core is what evil is.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
And so the first section is on this magic. Then we go over the idols of Zahak, which is basically the process of creating these things. We have 4 sample idols that are based on the 4 kind of mystical materials within this setting. Why you would do this? It's like in order to even learn the true dark secrets, the ritual magic, you have to construct an idol, and you have to then commune with this idol, and you have to bring Zahak's essence into the world in this fashion. You have to, which on its own is a series of like massive spiritual crimes that you have to.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, like that's damnation just to start.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so what these are is this game basically, it has sort of a mix of like the Catholic kind of idea of the communion of saints with a little bit of like the Greco-Roman pantheon, where you have these saint-like figures that were human beings in a previous age that are these kind of saints of like classical virtues. And you as a player character, if you do tremendous deeds, it is possible that you can have a minor apotheosis like these figures did. There's a single, creator god, this pantheon below them, and then you can rise to be, and basically you can become like a guardian angel over your people.
Oh, it's awesome.
And watch over them. And these spirits are very powerful, and they're very important to the different peoples in the different cultures,
society. Yeah.
And in order to animate the golem, you have to draw one of these things into the physical plane. Either do battle with it and defeat it, which good luck with that. It's going to be tough. Or you do some horrible magic to it, where you consume their power and you trap this thing inside and melt it with the vessel. And it's a permanent corruption of this thing. You have permanently diminished the heavenly order by doing this. And so
you've committed a fundamental, unreconcilable,
true blasphemy.
Cosmic blasphemous.
It is a cosmic crime to do this. And this is what this power is what allows it's really the point is the heinousness of the crime itself
that powers it rather than
this. Yeah. Other than like,
has many magic points. It's not a battery. It's the crime that you've done, the sin that you've done.
Yeah.
Brings these monsters to life, and they're really, really super powerful. So if you run into one, you're in big trouble. But it's also, when you run into one of these things, this is evidence of a tremendous series of crimes that's happened.
Yeah. It's not just one. It is a choice that every time we make a choice, we're changing who we are in the next moment. And this is somebody who has chosen to take a 180 on the way the world. See, what I love about that is, so one of my favorite second edition D&D settings was Planescape, because it was about the philosophical realities of living on, in a world that has ontological realities. You can't say evil doesn't exist. I can go.
Yeah, I can go to evil land.
To evil.
Yeah.
That's one of my biggest problems with Golarion is there's a nation of atheists. I'm like,
What?
Stupid.
How does that even happen? A cleric just shows up and is like, hey.
Yeah. God is literally speaking to you.
Yeah. No, he's not.
There's this washing away of, possibly in the pursuit of niceness, as we talked about earlier, this washing away of anything that would be considered objectionable to a modern audience. But the thing is that these games have never, most of these games, looking right at you, Sorcerer, most of these games haven't glorified these things, right? Yes, AD&D had slavery in it because the module was literally called Against the Slavers. Like you are going to fight against slavery. So if we keep pulling out all of the true evil for players to confront, one, there's no reason to be heroic. But two, I know a lot of people on the internet like mocking some of the new 5th edition adventures that have come out where it's like, hey, you're in a circus, or hey, you're in a fantasy college, or I'm like, well,
you're in a circus and you have to put on this clown paint to play the game because you are literally a clown now. Yeah.
What else do they have to do? Right. There's literally like everything is always happy and cheery and there's no evil.
Right. There's no conflict.
Well,
yeah.
Where?
Yeah. I mean, it's all indicative of everyone everywhere all the time has forgotten more and more what values even are. And you need some kind of value. It doesn't even need to be a strictly moral value per se to put forward something that's creative. But you do need values because in the absence of those things, especially in the current time, we don't have that. There's no desire or even awareness that that's something that we should do or that's something we're suffering from. And so all that is left is sort of the trite and the banal. And we do see that is readily apprehensible everywhere around our lives, the trivial and the banal. Yeah. And that is what is being put forward in most settings, whether they're new settings or they're the later editions of older settings. Yeah. I mean, it's sort of like a meme at this point, but it is true. Everything is, 21st century Seattle, right?
Yeah. The meme has become reality. Everything.
Yeah. Yes. And it's even worse than this though, because it's like, I do really loathe that there is not a clear idea of what heroism is and people celebrating what that is. And that's part of the reason that we wrote Cults of Zahak is we wanted to present something that was like truly evil and not in like the Book of Vile Darkness way. It's like, it's a demon that, has a big smile carved on its face. And It's not that. It's like, this is something you can't ignore. And we want to give people enemies that demand to be slaughtered, basically. Yes. But on the flip side of that, it's also just like removing, and not every game has to have slavery in it, but removing slavery from games and things like this is just a failure of imagination. The whole point of role playing is that you get to take on the persona of someone else and live in a world that's very different than our own. And if that world, like if you're playing a historical game in the Roman Empire, they had slaves. There was slavery, and your character is likely going to be like fine with that. They may not particularly like love it. Be like, yeah, keep the slaves down. It's not that, but it's just that it's just a part of the world.
Yes.
And the problem, if you're, I don't really know. It's just like part of the joy of the hobby is inhabiting a different world. And a lot of times that world is going to have things that might make, I don't even know why this would make people squeamish. But it's like, it's a sign of lacking any sort of sense of heroism, but it's also a sign of having no imagination, which really bothers me because that's what these games are for. These games are for imagination, right? And for exploring that, and I don't want people to be putting those stupid limits on me.
Well, and you've got the fact that I apologize to keep going back to Lewis in this discussion, but I'm reading a lot of him right now. And he says, hey, the value of reading old books is the fact that it points out the blind spots in your own culture. Because in experiencing what other civilizations and times have written about, you can start to see, well, why aren't we writing about this? What are our blind spots? Because you're seeing the world through a different lens. That's the beauty of role-playing games, is that we get to step into a world that is not ours, but exploring themes that we wrestle with today.
And you can pretend, and and pretending is not the same thing as doing something.
No.
Yeah, and like a lot of this is because we see this play out in movies and everywhere. It really is a kind of, it's a fear and a hatred in some sense of consciousness.
Yeah.
Because it's whatever creative product you want to choose right now, the intention from the people who make it, regardless of how honest they may be about this, and even the sincere enjoyment that some people do have for slop or whatever, it's like it's just falling asleep in a bath of warm milk. It's not telling you anything. It's just go to sleep. It's distraction. It's even if something's very frenetic and it's hitting you that dopamine center.
Yeah.
You're getting to the same location or the same destination from a different avenue, and that is switch your brain off.
Yeah.
Go to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. It's mindless consumption while waiting for the next thing to consume. And there is while that can be enjoyable, and I enjoy it, as well, there's no creativity in it. There's no,
right.
I'm not a better version of myself because I have consumed a bunch of stuff. In fact, in most cases, I'm a worse version of myself. And there's something to be said about the fact that this is really the last thing that we have, that we gather around a table, we share a meal with people, and we engage actively in creating something. And that's got to be defended. Like,
100%.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
And on a long enough time frame, it will be. Victory is assured. For a variety of different reasons, but nevertheless, you can't give up in the present moment.
Right.
Yeah. I subscribe to the iceberg theory of social media, in the fact that, like, it's really only the 10% loudest people who are on it.
Oh, for sure. I mean, yeah. It's
anybody who's having a happy, healthy gaming experience, they're playing a game.
Yeah.
They're not really talking about it. I think there was this phenomenon right around when 3rd edition D&D came out, where you would have these D&D Gnostics, is what I called them, where they're like, well, I don't have a game, but I've poured over this book, and let me tell you how the game works, and let me build this character. Well, no DM would allow that. Well, I don't have a DM, but the rules allow it. And I think we've seen that group of people kind of, I still don't think they're playing games, but they've now got,
Oh, no, you're completely right.
I agree with you.
Yeah, there's a plenty of people out there that have extremely strong opinions who are not game havers.
Yeah, they're not game havers. Yeah. And the people who are constantly trying to read the tea leaves of the text are misguided and usually insufferable.
Yes, and I was going to say, insufferable. All right. Well, Nick, you and I we have a promised conversation to have here at the end of our discussion. You want to have a Festivus style airing of grievances.
So I this is not a rant, although it'll seem like a rant. This is perfectly synchronized. It's the previous point is an excellent segue, because I think all three of us are basically on the same page here with regard to how more or less we sort of see the hobby and what it's for, and what you can do with it, what you should be doing with it. And this is a big problem I have, because I love Glorantha.
Yeah.
Glorantha, possibly more than any other setting, any other creative world, has, as long as I've been aware of it, has made a really deep and, in some sense, courageous promise, which to my mind they've never made good on. And Glorantha has, in actual fact, a very long history as far as settings go.
Yeah.
It predates D&D, all of these things. And what has always drawn me into Glorantha, the promise, as I've interpreted it, is this is a world that in some sense is real, or is more real, because it is taking fundamental truths and fundamental values and insights and perspectives seriously. It is in some sense more true because it's been created with along the current of how the actual world works, not in a rude parody, but
Right.
the deeper things. And that's not what the game looks like right now, as I see it. And I'm waiting to be convinced. I'm waiting to sort of feel that magic there. Because I believe a big pitfall of how the world has been presented. And I want to get your thoughts on this, because you are maybe the only person on YouTube, with the exception of Jeff Richards when he's interviewed, who is talking coherently about Glorantha. Everybody is so wrong. Everybody is so wrong. It infuriates me. But, talking about Jeff Richards, he just had an interview the other day. I apologize, I don't remember the name of the channel, talking about the new Gods of Fire and Sky book. And this conversation played out the way all the interviews with Jeff Richards go, where there's a bizarre and somewhat irritating satisfied there's a sort of joy in passively observing that real world myths, like Apollo or Helios or Indian, whatever, choose your real world mythology, map and have patterns and parallels with Gloranthan mythology. Okay. Isn't it all very interesting that Yelm and the Lightbringers, it's just like how ancient peoples have or may have seen the sun be born and die again. Isn't that all very interesting? That is not interesting. That's the most banal, surface level observation. It tells me almost nothing about the world, and tells me even less about how does someone from Frenella, how does someone from Sartar, actually, what is really the ethos beyond lore facts? What does it mean to be an Orlanthi or a lunar or a dragon mystic, whatever? It drives me crazy. It's like I feel like I'm taking crazy pills thing here. All I'm getting is fucking trivia, man, and it's killing me here. That I think it seems to me that there's a lot of people, whether they're players, fans, maybe even the creators. I don't know. I never met Greg Stafford. I've never talked to Jeff Richards. Nothing against the guy. I think he is doing a great job. I want more. But I think there's this. We've been told that Glorantha is this thing, and it's sort of real. It's reaching for something. There's a real aspirational thing that's sort of happening, but it's interpreted through this like lens of an academic and an intellectual. These nerds have got to go, man. Like this has to stop.
Yeah, I mean, John Wick talks about, he was like, I'm going to get into Glorantha. I'm going to learn one thing about it. I'm just going to learn about the Red Goddess. And he's like, I have a 120-page double-sided binder.
It's like, holy shit, man. Yeah. Hold on. Okay, so I brought this book. I knew this was going to come up. The best book book ever written in the hobby. I mean this sincerely. I'm not being ironic here. The best book about faith and religion ever made is this book. It's called 77 Thrones, the Theological Codex. We talked about the beginning, this game called Within the Ring of Fire.
Yeah.
This game is an absolute shit show. It's an absolute mess, and it's made from a lunatic barbarian in Newport News.
Yeah.
And nevertheless, I don't know how many pages this book's have. It doesn't matter
as well.
It doesn't matter.
We love
this book conveys feeling, passion, magic immediately,
and conflict as well.
And conflict. This is reading this book. I understand how to feel as a priest of one of these 77 different divinities in here. I don't have lore. I have the mechanics. There are spells here, but it's not about the history or the lore facts. I know I know in the Lightbringer's quest, this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and this happened. I am able to visualize the rotating apple. I can extrapolate from that and create my own shit. But you're telling me Glorantha is supposed to already kind of be there. Everybody who cares about stuff like this needs to buy this book, and they need to read it and internalize the lessons. And this all happened. Like I said, this guy is a lunatic. He doesn't have a PhD in anything, and he just got it more than any of these nerds or these historians have got it.
So that is. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say that actually, because I have very limited exposure to Glorantha. I have the Glorantha source book, which I'm slowly making my way through. But that is the thing. Like, RuneQuest is supposed to be about your passions. Like, you have these passions, and I have not felt that conveyed through the setting. It's a very sterile and academic. Very dispassionate look at the world, when it's like, this really should be about these all-consuming fires.
I should be like lit on fire.
Yeah.
When I start reading either the core book or the source book or any of these cults book, and I've got them all on the shelf over here, and I'm not saying this just to bitch. It's because I think there is something there, and
there's something very wrong. This isn't just a taste issue.
No, this is not a taste issue. This is a fundamental misconception, and
but I think the dry academia aspect of this keeps people away from the game.
Yes, that's the big. It's like all these pages. Like that's a symptom of whoever is writing, or whoever is in charge of like defining how this information is going to be presented. It's all coming through like academic papers, more or less. I'm being slightly hyperbolic here, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, I don't think you are, because the King of Sartar novel that Stafford did is amazing, but it's written from the point of view of a mythologist in the Fourth Age, covering historical records, and it reads like an academic paper. And I think at some point, I think my key to understanding this came to was when I realized people, Stafford read a lot of Campbell and loved Joseph Campbell. And I think a lot of the writers after Greg were like, Campbell is the key to understanding Glorantha. So if I just keep writing about the hero's journey and kind of this synchronicity between our world and this, and they miss the fact that at some point Greg went, this is wrong, because the only analog to Joseph Campbell in all of Gloranthan history is the God Learners. And they fucked up the world. Yeah. And
nerds get out, dude. Nerds get out. Yeah, you're completely right. It's like, and then on the reverse side, it seems to me in watching interviews over the years, there's there's an oversensitivity, which is maybe born out of like a desire to overly course correct because of, I think Chaosium does understand this that there's an accessibility issue, but I don't think they understand why. But there's a real fear or an anxiety, it seems to me, to make sure that people understand, no, this is actually a game, and on some level, we need to be extra sure that the conceits of like gameplay are socketed into the game. Like that is wrong as well. There's supposed to be an idea here, an idea that seems to be grasping for some kind of truth and resonance. Give me the idea, and the rest of the things, the lore facts and the history and the gameplay considerations of how the mechanics, all that stuff will be ordered under the appropriate hierarchy. But you gotta give me the thing here. Like, I'm not convinced that there's a real understanding by anybody as to what Glorantha actually is. I'm not convinced that anybody really even knows what. I haven't read the Fire Sky book yet, but who is Yelm? What does it mean to be a priest or a follower of Yelm? I'm not convinced anybody knows the answer.
So what I like about the mythology books is that each of the cults, I think they on some level they understand they need to distill this, and so every cult starts with, what is it? Hold on. You get your here it is. The nature of the cult section.
Mm-hmm.
What happens to me when I die if I follow Yelm?
Yeah.
Where does my magic come from? Why is this cult still in existence? I feel like that's the core, because in some ways, Glorantha is the antithesis of Dungeons and Dragons, right? Dungeons and Dragons is sorcery. I'm an itinerant murder hobo. And in Glorantha, you're like, no, who you are and where you come from is far more important.
Yeah.
Right.
Every time I run RuneQuest, I'm like, your character does not matter. Like, you're going to have a lot of fun. They're going to die because as Rob, the guy who does 13th Age, is like, RuneQuest has sanity points, just like Call of Cthulhu. They're just called limbs in RuneQuest, and you're going to lose just a ton of them.
Yeah.
But the clan, that's what's important. So as your character dies, there are going to be other members of the clan. It's you, like, who you are and where you're at. And I think the problem is that's a great place to start with a role-playing game.
Yeah.
The community is important. But somehow we got to the point where it's like, well, now you need to know. No, you don't need to know any of that. Like,
no character in the world knows that shit.
No.
They can't. You couldn't possibly.
Yeah.
Like this is a reason that I kind of prefer. I do prefer Mithras as it is being divorced from Glorantha, and how because it communicates very clearly through the cultural backgrounds what the feel is, and that it is your people are deeply important, and each one of the backgrounds has that the voice of the primitive, the voice of the barbarian, the voice of the civilized, and they tell you on that gut level what this is about, even though there isn't the giant stack of lore and academia behind it. The kind of essence of the spirit and
because that's what you need.
That's what's communicated, and that's what you need to role play the character.
It's more than that's what you need, which is true. Just like where creativity by committee exists, actual creativity is not. Where there is death, there is no life. Where there is academic shit, facts analysis, that is where soul is not. You can't have them both, which is, it's like I could read, I could go out and I could get a PhD in some pre-modern culture and intuit what village life or clan life might be, or I could go down a Wikipedia rabbit hole, or you could. This should be.
Or you can show me a painting.
This should be so fucking easy. Especially if you want to. I understand they want to start things out in Dragon Pass. I get it, but like if you're starting out in Dragon Pass, and the whole thematic gimmick is we're emotional and passionate and capricious and
violence is always an option.
Masculine and all of these things. Like, well, can't you bring that to bear inside yourself as you're fucking writing this, dude, and give it to me? I understand why the Sartorites don't like the Lunars from an imperial political thing. I get that. I understand they're a different religion. I do understand that. Tell me what it feels like to be a part of a Sartorite clan. Tell me what it means to be a Lizmelder or a Kolamari. Tell me what it means to be a lunar Tarshite. And I think there's a kind of a not a despair, but there's this hasn't been done for so long, putting actual passion. I see also the creeping in of like fucking in jokes and real world references.
Nothing pulls me out faster than
like holy shit. I understand we can't. I actually like the idea of the ducks. I understand.
Yeah,
we've gone too. They're never going away. It's like what's the fucking chaos monster with the three?
Tom, Dick, and Harry, right?
Tom, Dick, and Harry.
Tom, Dick, and Harry.
Dude, shut the fuck up. Like, I don't know if Greg came up with that. It's bad. It's like the memes about the Lunars.
Have you read my 900-page thesis on Tom, Dick, and Harry?
Tom, Dick, and Harry? No, I'm going to shoot you. It's like the reason there's so many like memes about like the lunar philosophy. It's like this is just capitulation. This is you're not trying to answer the question. I don't care whether they're right or they're wrong. I want to know what it
means
like
to play a lunar.
In this world, and whether they're right or they're wrong is like it's almost irrelevant. Like there's so much more groundwork that needs to be done here.
Well, and I think they had that in the beginning. Like you go back and read the Gloranthan classics and you read like Borderlands or Griffin Mountain or, Cults of Terror. You're like, wow, this is real.
There was an attempt. Yeah.
Yeah. And
I know they're still attempting it now. I get that, but
my buddy, every time I show him one of the new Cults of RuneQuest books, he's like, someday somebody's going to unearth your garage where you have your studio, and they're going to be like, look at what people used to believe the way the world works.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So I understand exactly where you're coming from, because when I got back into Glorantha, it was when the guide to Glorantha was coming out. I'm like, awesome. A single guide that will tell me everything.
Yeah.
I've never made it through the guide. like
why would you, man? Like
it's perfect for going, I want to run a game in the Kingdom of Ignorance. Let me read 3 pages on the Kingdom of Ignorance and then run my own stuff.
And this is not to say, because if people who have decision-making power here, the answer is not, well, this stuff isn't interesting and we should just jettison it, or we should water it down. That's not like, if you think that, like, please don't be a fucking moron.
No, it's fine. It's just find the fire.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't need, like, the rule system works because it's paired with it. I need you to tell me why you're passionate about this and convey that in the writing.
Yeah.
Yes. That's the thing. Because again, the reason I'm so irritated about it is, a promise was made, and I see that there's something really great here, but the fact of the matter is, if they can't square this circle, if you can't give me the same passion that this barbarian from Virginia made by himself, how long ago was this? 14 years ago?
Yeah, probably.
This feels way more alive than the 50 years or whatever the fuck of history.
You're so right, because I know exactly what you're talking about, because I started rereading this like a year ago. And I got through, it's the first 20 pages, and I was like,
I get it.
I miss this so much, and I get it. And I'm like, and it's like, you have the fire and the passion.
It's not that hard.
It's impossible for you to read this and not like
your imagination be
set on fire.
Because if you can't do that, the sad fact, and I don't say this because I want it. I want the good ending, but if you can't thread that needle, Glorantha and RuneQuest are not worth remembering, because you just have a more sophisticated Forgotten Realms, and nobody will remember the Forgotten Realms 100 years from now.
Mm-hmm. See, I think one of the problems that we have with modern settings is the fact that they're trying to appeal to everyone. And when you do that, you get them watered down. I had a great discussion with a guy who's like, listen, if you can't tell me succinctly what are the player characters, what are they supposed, what's the main conflict, and what happens if you don't engage with it? Right. You don't have a game setting. You have a novel background. You need to have those three things. What are your characters? What's the main conflict? And how do they engage with it? And what happens if they don't? You don't have a game setting. And so many game settings are now like, this is my novel background, that my novel failed. And let me.
Exactly.
And it's not.
And it's so crazy, because there is so much conflict baked into Glorantha. You don't feel that, though.
You don't feel it at all. It's absolutely astonishing. Like I love life path systems. I love the attempt at having the year by year thing.
Yeah, where you get your grandparents and then your parents, like you know who you are because you know where you came from, kind of a thing.
Yeah, but even that, it's like the Battle of Grizzly. What's the Battle of Grizzly Peak? Who is Fazzer? I don't even know if it's White Red or White Reed. I don't know. Like, he died. Your grandparent was eaten by the Crimson Bat. What's that? That at least sounds mythologically wild and sets my imagination on fire. But
so I will say, I don't know if you've read 13th Age Glorantha.
I have not.
I think they get Rob and Jonathan, who clearly have a passion for this. And I think because some people, I don't know if you mentioned you've seen Exploring Glorantha. Evan and I'll get into it. Like, he's a filthy lunar lover, and I love him, but screw him. And I think there's a passion from those of us who started with RQ2 and like understanding, hey, here's what was it. Here's where these conflict, much like, so my friend Richard talks about how, up there with the Enneagram or Myers-Briggs is what 40K faction are you drawn to? Nice. Right. There was that thing like, what vampire clan are you in the 90s? Right. There's something iconic that's going on in this thing where you're like, well, obviously the Sartorites are right. Well, no, you're wrong. The Lunars are right. Well, we've been in it long enough. Or it hooked us at the right time. And I worry that Chaosium is looking at RuneQuest because, first of all, like, the books are gorgeous. Like, they are gorgeous. The art is amazing. Else like it on the layout market. And the production value. It's beyond reproach. Yeah, but they're looking at it and going, it's not selling well because of the mechanics. So because they're putting out a new version, like a parallel version of the mechanics, and I'm like, that's not what where the problem hook is failing to hit. Yeah. It's so wrong. It's so misguided. And it's like, if you were able to present to me the passion and the feel, and a game that's ostensibly supposed to be about those
those things. What this would also do, like the reason why most games are played in Dragon Pass is because that's where the material, that's where the lore was, and you're always going to have that. You can't have equal amounts of shit written for every place. But here's the if you give me the lens that lights my imagination on fire, because this is also supposed to be a thematic part about Glorantha, the repeat of cycles, the sort of there are patterns which continue to repeat themselves, whether you're in the Genartellan West or the East or wherever. Yeah. This is all a sort of unified thing. So you have to give me like that creative fire, and then I can run a game confidently and actually be excited about it in Seshnella or
the
in
East Isles,
wherever, or the Malchione Isles, or anywhere, and I don't need to wait for the product to come out, which will never come out. It's been 50 years.
There's too much. There's too much. I have on the wall over here, I have the 6 poster map.
Yeah, of
Genartella. I'm like, I know maybe 1%.
Yeah,
that I've gained in of that map. But one of the cool things is we just got to interview 2 of the writers who are just putting out
East Isles
on the East Isles. And man, are they passionate about the East Isles. I have never wanted to go to the East Isles. And now I'm like, shit, I'm going to pick up all your books and I'm going to go.
This is maybe we can talk about this again another time, but this is a good, I don't want to get bogged down in this, but this is a good, Chaosium needs to loosen the grip on third-party content.
Holy shit.
This IP shit, it's gonna kill them, just like it's gonna kill everybody.
Yeah.
But I'll leave that provocative statement for.
I would actually
later, unless you want to talk about
another hangout and chat with you guys, because this has been wonderful.
Yeah, and I know you have thoughts on Vampire as well, because you watched the Vampire video initially. We could riff on that or really or anything RPG really, philosophy.
Yeah, but I would love to do that. Well, guys, thanks so much. I know I said an hour, and we're at an hour and a half, but it's flown by.
Yeah,
it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, we'll definitely do this again.